In this video, we're going to go over specifically straight line motion, so connecting position, velocity, and acceleration, but I did want to touch base very quickly on derivatives in other science and finance and statistics areas, so physics, chemistry, biology, and economics. In general, we already know that the derivative of a function represents the slope of the line tangent to a curve. And anytime, now that we can put it in a context, so anytime there is a change in one variable with respect to another variable, we consider the instantaneous rate of change. And in some topic areas, they have specific names. So in physics, and the one that we'll be working with the most today, we will be looking at position, velocity, and acceleration functions and how they relate to each other. So if your position function is your original function, velocity would be the change in position over time, so that'd be the derivative of position. And then acceleration is the change in velocity over time, so it's the second derivative of position or the first derivative of velocity. These are the concepts that have very specific function names associated with them. So position functions in physics are usually labeled S, velocity is V, and then acceleration is A. There are some other pieces and topics that are covered in physics, chemistry, bio, econ, or economics that associate with derivative functions. So if you have the average density of something, its first derivative is the linear density. The average current of something in an electrical circuit, its instantaneous current would be your first derivative. In chemistry, the rate of reaction and the instantaneous rate of reaction, the rate of change of volume, so if something grows in volume over time, its first derivative would be the compressibility of that object. In biology, average rate of growth and average rate of flow have very specific first derivatives, so instantaneous rate of growth. So if you have a plant growing over time, you could identify the rate at which it's growing at any particular instant, so on day 4 or after 2 hours or something. And then the first derivative for average rate of flow is called the velocity gradient. And then last but not least, in economics, the cost of producing something is referred to as C of T very often, and then marginal cost is its first derivative, where the marginal cost is the cost of producing the next item, or the cost of producing something that is happening in the next time period. So this is cost overall. This would be an instantaneous cost of producing the next thing. What we are focusing on today, though, is what I mentioned previously, was the physics portion, and that would be motion along a straight line or linear motion of an object or a person. And so we're going to be looking at some ways to interpret and relate and derive the different functions for motion along a line. So if an object is moving along a line so that its position is S, remember I said the position functions are often referred to as S. In this scenario, they're also going to use f of t to represent that function. Then its average velocity was given by the change in position over time. So it would be a change in position over time. This could also be the object's displacement over time. And then we would using our slope formula, right? Because average means you're finding the slope of the secant line, or AKA your, we'll put it in quotation marks, regular slope formula. So it would be f of some time period, so b minus f of a over b minus a. We're more often used to, at least in algebra, seeing this as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that would be average velocity. So you could say that over a 2-hour time interval, your car travels an average of 70 miles per hour, so on the average rate of change. But to find an object's instantaneous velocity, we need to find the derivative of our position function at that time. Besides telling you how fast an object is moving, velocity also tells you the direction of motion. When an object is moving forward or to the right, and this is the accepted consensus among mathematicians and scientists, the velocity would be considered positive. So if you have a positive velocity, that means your object is either moving forward or to the right, depending on the problem. When the object is moving backwards or to the left, the velocity would be considered negative. Okay, so let's try one of these problems. In this example, an object moves along a linear path according to this equation. So this is your position function, where s is measured in feet and t is measured in seconds. We want to determine the object's velocity when t equals 4 and t equals 2, and then whether it's moving forward or backwards at that time. So first we have to find our velocity function, and remember velocity is the derivative of your position function, so we just have to take the derivative of this piece. 4t minus 12. And so if I want to find my velocity at 2 seconds, all I have to do is plug 2 in. And then my velocity at 4 seconds would be me plugging 4 in. So we get 8 minus 12, which is negative 4, and then positive 4. Also watch your units here. If our original function was measured in feet, that's your dependent variable. And then t is measured in seconds, that's your independent variable. So our derivative should be feet per second. So feet per seconds. Feet per seconds, okay? And then, so we look at the signs to determine whether our object's moving forward or backwards. So I would say that at 4 seconds, the object is moving forward because your velocity is positive, and at 2 seconds, the object is moving backward because your velocity is negative. When is the velocity 0? What does that mean regarding the movement of the object? So if your velocity is 0, that means we set our velocity function equal to 0, and then we can solve for the time that happens at. So I'll take my velocity function, I set it equal to 0, and then I solve for t. In this scenario, that would be 3 seconds. And so what does this mean regarding the movement of the object? Well, if your velocity is 0, that means that your object, I always want to go to car, that your object has no speed in either direction, right? It's not going anywhere. So if your velocity is 0, that means that your object is at rest or not moving, just at that time. Now at 3.1 seconds, it could be moving again, but it's precisely at 3 seconds, your object is at rest because your velocity is 0. Now let's compare velocity and speed. So speed is related to the velocity, but speed is the absolute value of velocity, because speed indicates only how fast an object is moving, whereas velocity indicates direction of motion. So speed is the absolute value of your velocity function, which means it'll always be positive. So in example 3, the object ended up with a speed of 4 feet per second at both those times. And that makes sense because at 2 seconds you were traveling at 4 feet per second, but you were just traveling backward, or the object was. And then at 4 seconds the object was traveling forward at 4 feet per second, but either way my speed was 4, it's just whether the object was traveling backward or forward. So that's how speed is related to velocity. Now let's talk about acceleration. So acceleration is the derivative of velocity with respect to time. So a of t, oops, we're going to write it in 2 separate things. A of t is the first derivative of velocity, and it's the second derivative of your position function. So if you start with a position function and you take the derivative twice, that would give you your acceleration. You can also write that a of t is equal to dv dt, the first derivative, or the second derivative of your position function. This is Leibniz notation, and so it tells you what you're taking the derivative with respect to. And so you could see either one of these as an example. So if we have an example 4, an object is moving along a linear path according to this equation, where s is measured in feet and t is measured in seconds. We want to determine the object's position, velocity, and acceleration at 0 and 3 seconds. So we already have our position function, so let's go ahead and find s of 0 and s of 3. And if we plug those into this equation, s of 0 is actually just 0. Make sure you're using units. So position is being measured in feet. So 0 feet, that means our object at a time of 0 starts at 0 feet. After 3 seconds, I believe it ends up being 2.25 feet. So that means that after 3 seconds, your position of your object is 2.25 feet away from where it started, to the right. And then now we're going to look at velocity. Now, before I find my velocity at 0 and 3, I just need to find my velocity function. Recall that velocity is the derivative of position. So if I find the derivative of this function, I'll end up with t cubed minus 6t squared plus 8t. And so then now I can find v of 0 and v of 3. V of 0 would just be 0, and then make sure you're using your units. It's a rate now, feet per second. And then V of 3, let's see what that would be. -3 feet per second. Excellent. So that means that at time 0, our velocity of our object was 0, and then at time 3, our object was moving backwards at a speed of 3 feet per second. And then last but not least, we want to find our acceleration. So we need to find our acceleration function first, which is the first derivative of velocity, which is the second derivative of our position function. So if I just take the derivative of this, that will give me my answer here. So that would give me, let's look like 3t squared minus 12t plus 8. So if I find a of 0, my acceleration at time 0, it would be 8. And then feet per second squared, right? Because it was feet, then feet per second, now feet per second squared. And then our acceleration at 3 seconds would be -1 feet per second squared. Excellent. All right, in our next piece of this example, we want to find when is the velocity 0. So we have to figure out when my velocity function equals 0. So we set it equal to 0 and then solve. So I take my velocity function that I found in my previous part, and I set it equal to 0. It looks like I can pull out a GCF of t. So I have t squared minus 6t plus 8. And then if I factor that, it'll be t minus 4 and t minus 2. And then these are each a factor. So I'll have 3 answers, 0 seconds, 2 seconds, and 4 seconds. So those would be all the times when your velocity is 0. And so now let's talk about on what intervals your object would be moving to the right and to the left. So we know the only time our object is stopped is at 0, 2, and 4 seconds. So we can go ahead and we're going to make a sign chart to kind of keep track of our velocity in between these time periods. So here's 0 seconds, 2 seconds, and 4 seconds. And so we just have to figure out, I know my object was stopped at 0, and I know it stopped again at 2, but what was it doing in between 0 and 2 seconds? Was it moving to the right or was it moving to the left? And so what we can do to figure that out is we can test numbers that are in this interval in your velocity function. So if I have the number 1, for example, I can find v of 1, and I can figure out whether that's positive or negative. If I have 3 that's in that interval, I can figure out whether that's positive or negative, and then if I pick, for example, like 5, I could figure out whether that's positive or negative. And then that will tell me whether my object is moving to the left or to the right in each of these intervals. So v of 1 means if I just plug 1 into my velocity function, you can plug it into here, you can plug it into here, you can plug it into your factored form. But either way, if you plug it in, I like to plug it into the factored form because it's easy to see whether things end up positive or negative. So this would be positive times a negative times a negative. So this would all end up being positive. V of 3, we actually already calculated. We saw that that was negative, so I can go ahead and just stick a negative there. And then V of 5, again, if I plug it into my factored form, this would be a positive number, and a positive number. So those all multiplied together would give me a positive number. So now I can say that my object is moving to the left when my velocity is negative, so between 2 and 4 seconds, and then my object is moving to the right when my velocity is positive, so between 0 and 2 seconds, and then for time greater than 4. You can't have negative time, so we don't need to worry about anything over here.